I have learned that there are two things that are really important if someone is wanting to get out of a toxic or abusive situation, dangerous home situation, and that is financial stability and community support. And I had both of those. So I'm so grateful for real estate, what it's given me, and that I've been able to stay out of that type of thing. So that is something that I'm passionate about, and I want to get more involved.
ClientCare, the podcast. Welcome home to the #1 real estate show on the market. I am your host and resident care coordinator, Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lilly. My goal with each episode of ClientCare is to demystify the business of real estate from my point of view and interviews from other voices within the real estate industry around the world. I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Head to transactioncarepodcast.com to join my TC community and to be sure you are subscribed to Transaction Care, the podcast, so you know exactly when new episodes are released weekly. Welcome back to another episode of Transaction Care, the podcast. So today's guest is coming to us from St. Louis, Missouri. She has a passion and deep love for real estate, providing services as a realtor. She invests, she's a transaction coordinator, and runs her company, ClientCare Services. And when she's not enjoying her day-to-day life in real estate, she enjoys spending time with her family, going to local sites, festivals, reading, music, and art. Don't we all? I know I do. And she's a volunteer with local organizations that provide support for those facing crisis and that make the world a better place for all of us. So I love that. Everyone, welcome Jamie Frazier to the podcast. Thank you for joining us. How's your day going?
It's going good. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So how I like to start off the podcast is just giving the audience just a basic rundown of where you run your business, what your businesses offer, and then we'll get into how you got there. So tell us where you're located.
So I'm in the St. Louis, Missouri market. And most of my business is in this immediate metro area. It's been a really good fit for me. And I do contract to close full time. I also offer listing input services for my clients. And if family or friends want me to help them buy or sell real estate, I'm happy to help them. I like making that full commission check every once in a while. But I don't prospect for buyers and sellers. I found that I don't have a salesperson personality. So it was very stressful for me to try and be a salesperson and push someone to buy or sell something they didn't necessarily feel inclined to do. And I just started my investing journey. I am working on a flip at the moment, and then I plan to purchase more rehab projects and then also do the BRRRR method of investing, which is buy, rehab, refinance, rent, repeat. So I have a really good mentorship program in my brokerage as well. I'm learning that. So all about real estate all the time.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Transaction Care, the podcast. Just kidding. That's awesome. No, I love it because thank you for sharing that. For anyone in the St. Louis, Missouri area, please reach out to Jamie and let's make that connection happen. But you mentioned a lot of things, and I want to know how we got here today, especially about, just knowing your strengths. You said, I'm not a prospector, this and that. There's so many levels to how we get to where we're at in this lifetime. But let's just start with real estate. Why? How did you get here? Was this something that you were born into? Just it kind of aligned with your life at the right time? Feel free to share your journey in real estate, Jamie. Thank you.
Yeah. So I actually did not have any real background in real estate. At one point, maybe 6 or so years ago, I was considering some sort of way to help people. I was considering doing like a life coaching type program for other mothers, something like that. And I read The Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. And at the very end, she talks about how she found what she had been obsessed with since childhood. And so I thought about that for myself. And I realized that since I was a kid, I had been obsessed with homes and houses and the way people live in them. Like I would love just, at the grocery store, they have those books with the real estate listings. I would pick those up. I look in the newspaper. I'm almost 41. So that was how you looked at listings back then. Right. Or like looking at those house plan books that you would see in the bookstore. And I was born in Texas and I lived there till I was about 5. So whenever I would go to like areas of the country where they had basements, like I was like, oh my gosh, this house has stairs. It's so cool. or just a house that had stairs. Like I was, so it's like that was it. And someone said to me, well, then, here's a link for how you go talk to a Keller Williams office. They're hiring. I mean, they're all hiring now. I know that. So I went in,
Fun
I met
fact.
with them. They gave me the information on taking my licensing course. And so I started that. I got licensed in February of 2017. That's when I got my real estate license. So that's how it started.
Wow, fairly recently. So I love that it was, you said a friend, right? That said, hey, you keep
Yeah.
talking about this, go do something about it.
Mhm.
And I get that it's a frequently asked question I get. I don't know if you get it a lot, but it's like, how do I become a transaction coordinator? Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
work from home. I want to quit my job and do this. And a lot of people don't know there's a lot behind the walls
Mhm.
of this actual job. But one of the things I do tell people when they market themselves is just tell your friends and family first.
Yeah.
Start with them.
Mhm.
And thankfully, you had someone in your life that was listening and paying attention and was like, hey, just go give this a try.
Yeah.
So, when you first got into real estate, how was that experience? Were you just kind of like a kid in a candy store, or first day of kindergarten, you're scared, or what was the initial feeling coming into it?
Yeah. Yeah, so I definitely felt like I had found the type of industry that I wanted to be in because I tend to always want to, like have an achievement and like do to have a variety, like, you know, achieve goals and have different things that you can do. And I found that real estate, there's so many different specialties and areas that you can
Right.
work in that it's the right industry. So I'm in one industry with a ton of variety. So I joined a team right off as an agent, a buyer's agent. That team that didn't work out pretty quickly. Then I went solo for a while, struggled with that. And then I joined a higher producing teams as a buyer's agent. So I was able to have the mentor of the team leader and they gave me leads and everything. And so she taught me a lot. And then kind of getting doing open houses and a bunch of last minute showings wasn't really what I enjoyed doing.
Right.
That open houses, I was really awkward. I call myself a friendly introvert. Like I don't like when strangers like walk in and I'm like, hi, here's some information on the house. Let me know if you
Right.
need anything. It's like it was just super
Flyers
awkward.
are in
So
the other room. I'll be over here.
yeah, exactly. So, and then making cold calls and,
Oh,
door hangers, those are really great for some people. It was just draining my energy. And I had the opportunity to cover the front desk at my broker's office. And at the same time, the market center admin, it was still Keller Williams' office. She's like, the other area of real estate where you can make a lot of money besides sales and investing is being a transaction coordinator. And with your background, that would be great. My background is strong in admin. Like I
yes.
used to work for the DMV, I've worked for chambers of commerce. I've done a lot of customer service type jobs. I've worked in the wedding industry. So I'm really good. I'm an SC on the desk profile, like strong SC all the way. Great with the details and also customer service.
Perfect.
So being at the front desk allowed me to meet a lot of agents that were coming in, and I knew them from being in the brokerage as well and let them know that I'm going to be a TC now. And so I was able to gain clients from that. And then again, like you said, just like telling people, putting the word out on Facebook, and then other agents that maybe weren't in my office, they'd be like, hey, this agent in my brokerage is looking for a TC. So that was a really good way to kind of get into it. I left the team that I was on good terms and everything, and was very grateful for everything I learned from them. So that was kind of my journey into being a TC, and it worked out really well with my lifestyle as well at the time.
Absolutely. So, was the same person that was mentoring the same person that trained you? How did you learn the ropes of the behind the scenes, the paperwork, auditing files, and time management, even maintaining a larger load of work that is consistent versus when you're on the field as a realtor
Mhm.
or a team member, you're out there searching and clawing for work. Whereas, like as a TC, as long as your work is consistent and you have the right associations that you're connected with,
Mhm.
it's always going to be incoming. So, how did you
Yeah.
learn the ropes? And then when did you eventually catch your stride?
So at first, it was a bit of a struggle. When I was on the teams, we had a team admin. So that's really who I learned a lot from. If I was missing like the resale certificate for the condo or things like that that I didn't know. My very first listing that I ever did, I didn't realize that I had to upload certain attachments to the MLS. And so I'm like, why am I not getting offers? It's well, because it looks like the seller is hiding something because you didn't know what you were doing. So I just kind of learned by trial and error some
Yeah.
of it. And then I pick up really, really quickly on, you know, the details and the compliance platforms and things like that. And that's pretty easy when you have a compliance platform. You can tell like where to drop certain things and the different placeholders and everything. So I picked up on it pretty well. And then as far as hitting my stride in the contract to close process as a TC, it did take a bit of trial and error and figuring out what system I was going to use.
Right.
So probably the first year or so was more of a struggle, but also when you're first getting started, you don't have as many files. So I think it went pretty good. I'm a perfectionist or I have perfectionistic tendencies. So I tend to be
Relatable.
really hard on myself. And then just learning how valued I was for my clients, that meant a lot too.
Yeah, no, I could definitely relate to the perfectionist, stickler type mentality to the point where it sometimes paralyzes me. I'm like, okay, we have to move forward. We have to do something.
Yeah, if I make a mistake, I tend to beat myself up. I'm like, oh, how could
Yeah,
I have missed that?
I know. It feels like the end of the world, and you're trying to do this on your own, and you think you're just the worst
Yeah.
at it. And it's like it's sometimes it's not that big of a deal. I know I held in a lot of my mistakes, trying to clean them up myself in the very beginning, and I'll openly share that. I don't mind admitting that because that's a part of the process.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trial and error, like you said, a lot of just, okay, that's the only way I'm going to learn is if I mess up. And
Mhm.
as long as they haven't fired me, I still have a chance.
Right, right. And sometimes they do. It's
Yeah.
helped me to kind of like pare down the agents that I work with now. They consider me part of their team and they know that I'm a human being and they're like, we're a team. There was one time I switched up like some commission information and my agent was paid like $900 less. And I called her. I'm like, I made this mistake. Nobody else caught it either. And then it all worked out, but I was going to take care of it. And I just owned it. And she's like,
Yes.
no, no, no. She's like, I totally, she was so nice about it. So that's the kind of client that we want to look for too, is someone that understands humanity and that we do make mistakes. And I also am very intentional when I do make a mistake. So I added that specific thing to my checklist, make sure that, the right brokerage is being paid the right amount. Like the dollar amounts were right, but the brokerages were switched who was getting. So now that's on my checklist. Like, okay, before closing, I look at it and I see make sure the right amounts are being paid. So both of those things have been important to me.
That's such a great key. I'm glad you said that. And I'm based out of California, in San Francisco to be exact. And, people always ask, like, why do you guys have so many disclosures? And it's because someone messed up along the way. Someone made a mistake. And as a result, it became disclosure because
Mhm.
someone got sued, basically.
Yeah.
Someone got sued along the way, and all the attorneys jumped on it and created disclosure. And that's a great tip as well for fellow TCs out there listening, or any entrepreneurs in the real estate industry. When you notice you've made a mistake, rather than making that a pattern in your business, nip it in the bud. Like, okay,
Mhm.
on my personal checklist that no one else sees, I have my notes that show up for every transaction. Do not do this, red flag, red flag.
Yeah,
Double check. And it doesn't
definitely.
matter how long you've been in the industry, at least from my point of view as well. I still have those notes on my own personal checklists that I just remember, I just flash back to those
Yep.
days like, yeah, we don't want that to happen
Right.
ever again. And it's true. You do have to also align yourself with the right people.
Mhm.
And was that always something apparent to you in the beginning, or did you also, again, have to learn and kind of navigate through good and bad clients, what that meant to you, and how did that come to be?
Yeah. So in the beginning, when I got started as a TC, I would just take on any clients that came to me. If you don't mind, I'll kind of go back to my story, my personal story of
Go for
when
it.
I was first becoming a TC. I was also in the middle of leaving a very toxic marriage. My daughter was 5 or 6 at the time, and I had sole custody of her. So I felt a lot of responsibility to provide for her. So that's why I would just take anyone that would hire me. It was a very positive career choice. I had just read the book called Being the Solution by Daryl Rutherford, which I was looking it up again earlier today, and it kind of has a lot of The Secret vibes, which,
Mhm.
there's things that you can take from that are valuable to know. I don't buy into magical thinking necessarily, but it kind of gets to the also with Keller Williams, they have the BOLD program, which I went through 3 times when I was an agent, and they talk about be, do, have. Like,
Mm.
who do you want to be? What do you have to do to get it? Well, I wanted to be a good mother. I wanted to be there if my daughter got sick. I wanted to be there if she had a play at school. I wanted to be present when she got home from school. I wanted to be that kind of mother. I wanted her to have, and I still do, of course, I wanted her to have a great childhood. So that was something that I had to kind of work my way through as far as the clients. There were some that just they didn't value me and treated me like that. And then there were some that were very unprofessional. I did have one client that I was worried that I was going to, he was going to get sued and I was going to get named. And so I was like, this is the last file I'm ever doing for you. And I just,
Right.
that was,
Get out while I
but
can.
you have to be able to just say, no, worth, this is not worth my peace. And if it's not worth your peace, just walk away and, be professional and kind about it, but then just close the door. And if they try to, come back, that's a toxic pattern. And I just don't, I just don't respond to that, whether it's a business relationship or a personal relationship. Circling back again to the financial stability that it provided to my daughter, this job, like I have learned that there are 2 things that are really important if someone is wanting to get out of a toxic or abusive situation, dangerous home situation, and that is financial stability and community support. And I had both of those. So I'm so grateful for real estate, what it's given me, and that I've been able to stay out of that type of thing. So that is something that I'm passionate about, and I want to get more involved. You mentioned some of the volunteer organizations I'm with. One of them is in my brokerage's family of companies. They have their own nonprofit, and it focuses on mental health with a specific focus on mental health in children. They also do direct support for families in crisis. So I volunteer on the event committee for that. And then there's another organization that's on my list of goals to get involved with that is also helping people leave toxic and abusive relationships because you really do need that. So I just want to give back. Like that's one of my long-term goals, what I want to do with everything that I have received. I want to give back. So that's really important. So if anyone is listening to this and they're in, you know, even if it's only, and I'm using quotes, only verbal or emotional abuse, that's still abuse and it's not safe to be there. So, I definitely recommend reaching out to your community and finding the resources because they are there. And then, you're sharing my information. Feel free to message me. I'm always happy to kind of, you know, give any input and support that I can. It's just been something something I'm really grateful to have been able to work through and to be where I am today.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And, I'm sure there's someone out there listening that may be stuck or doesn't know how to get out of that type of situation, whether it is personal or business, because, even on the business front side of things, I've had unruly clients that in my early days of entrepreneurship, same as you, I didn't have any boundaries. I was just taking
Yeah.
whatever I could get to survive. And, your why was your kids and things like you're raising, them in a household that is, ideal for you and out of these, like you said, these toxic patterns. And that can also start to reflect in your business. And if all of that is in disarray, it's going to be difficult to get out of that and enjoy the journey and the process along the way. And I'm grateful that you are finding your way out because this is a healing journey for life. We are, every day we are evolving and learning and growing. And I'm glad that you have a support system and continue to build that and nurture it and just put yourself first. ultimately, at the end of the day, in business and personal life, whatever the case may be, we still do have to save ourselves in order to save the next person. And I salute you for that. You are a survivor. You are amazing. And I'm glad we're having this conversation. So thank you again for sharing. And for anyone that is in need of any resources, I will put Jamie's information in the description. So it will all be there, but we're not done. So don't worry, guys, we are not done. But I do want to thank you for, just being open to sharing that with the audience today and with me as well, and feeling comfortable with that. So thank you again. So going back to, working in an office to now running your own business, right? You said since 2017, am I correct?
Yeah, that's when I got licensed, and then I started as a transaction coordinator in June of 2018.
June, 2018. Okay, so same year I did it, just in April, I'm sorry. So exactly 5 years ago. But so what made you decide to branch out and do this completely on your own? Had you ever run a business on your own? I know you said you worked at DMV, so
yeah.
I'm already getting tough vibes from you.
I know, and I work customer service at Walmart too, and I really just, in those experiences, they're so stereotypical, but the customers just want help.
Yes.
And then if they were being rude, I learned that they were doing something wrong, and so it didn't even bother me. I'm like, it doesn't, like,
Right.
they just rolled right off my back, and they had to live with themselves. I didn't have to live with them. So exactly. I was really, really good at that. And I'm good at bringing the temperature down anyways. If it does get
it's key. Yeah.
But yeah, so I had not worked for myself before. I don't, I mentioned the disc profile, and, I don't have really any of the D, which is like I consider the drive, the internal drive. I'm not super internally motivated. I'm more externally motivated. So being a mom and having my daughter to support and, again, be the kind of mom I wanted to be the person I wanted to be, that has been the external motivation for me to work for myself. And I absolutely love it. I love not having to check in with a boss, punch a clock. It is just amazing. So I did, like I said, I wasn't saying no to anyone. So I did get to the point, I think it was 2021, where I think I had like 55 closings by myself one month, and I was just burning out really bad. So I tried doing some hires. I hired virtual assistants, I tried multiple ones, and that was not a good fit for me personally. I am happy for people that it's a good fit for. For me, it was not. It's something that I really put a lot of work into, and it just was something I learned that was not a good fit for me. Mm-hmm. And I hired a full-time, part-time, and then full-time local licensed assistant. And it was some of the same struggles, a little bit easier. And it was very, very frustrating for me. I didn't feel like I had a good grasp on what was going on in my business. She was a good worker and everything. It wasn't her fault necessarily. It just didn't really gel with my preferences. Mm-hmm. I don't know a better way to say that. So when the market slowed down last fall, I didn't have the business coming in. So I ended up letting her go and going back to being a solo TC. And that does have some disadvantages. I'm not able to be available 24, like business hours all the time. Right. Sometimes I have appointments or personal things going on. But my clients know that, and they actually
respect it.
Yes, they do. And they like the fact that I have everything going through like one filter, if that makes sense. Like my mental organization is so strong, and I just wasn't finding that I could translate it to a system. That is probably possible, but like I connect the dots really well in my head. So if I get a piece of information, I can see how that affects something else in the transaction. And I love that. I love puzzles and putting all the pieces together, and and I love talking to my clients about, troubleshooting type things. Like they have this situation that's so unusual, and let's talk through our options. And of course, and I understand as an agent too, when I need to have them talk to their broker, but that's not really what I'm talking about. If it's more of a legal situation, of course, I'm going to be like, you need to talk to your broker about this, but I know when to tell them that too. It's just fun for me. Like I said earlier, it's never boring. It's never the same. I love this because I can do so many different sales that I get the breadth of experience that you just, even as a high producing agent, you just can't do
Mm-hmm.
that many. You physically couldn't do that many. And I really love it. I love all that part of it. So,
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I actually don't have any sales experience. I am licensed here in California, but there's a part of me that feels, I think, a little bit more confident than the average person coming into this industry, that if I was put in that situation, I feel a bit ready,
yeah.
simply because I've seen so many different transactions, and
Mhm.
I may not have the A to Z strategy prepared, but if I was thrown into the fire, much like how I learned how to be a TC, I think I would find some grounding in that, and
Mhm.
find my way through from the beginning to the end. And there are many differences also with being a realtor and a TC. And I know you mentioned, you don't do prospecting and things like that, and cold calling. Who likes that? Does anyone like that? Like,
Some people do.
some people do, and that it's, again, going back to just recognizing your strengths. It's not mine. Another reason why I started this podcast, I was like, well, let me just put my voice and my face out there. You would think I'd like cold calling, but there's something about just, hey, stranger, like,
Yeah.
you want to work with me?
Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking, and I get nervous. Now I'm going off topic, but
Yeah.
is there anything you absolutely love about the realtor side of things that, of course, if you could do it all day, every day, and make those nice commissions, what would it be?
One of my favorite things is I'm a big Facebook friend type person. I don't put a lot of like political or religious content out there. I keep it very like family,
Mhm.
like I post about my family and what I'm doing in my life. So my personal Facebook page is part of my business, basically. I don't even know if I would be on Facebook if it wasn't for this
Right,
business and being
right.
a real estate agent. But my favorite thing is seeing people post pictures of their families living in the houses I help them buy. I absolutely love that. It's just like, oh, I remember going and, you know, going through the whole process because I'm a very much, when I was working with buyers, I very much on site. Like I go to the inspections and the walkthrough, and I love seeing that. It is my favorite part. And then, I mean, if it was the seller, to help them to make their lives better by their proceeds from their house, it's a big deal to sell too. But more of my experience has been with buyers. So that's just my favorite part. Yeah. Yeah. And if
And
they come to me, I'm happy to help them. Like I'm good at it. And cold calling is actually a really good strategy.
absolutely.
There's some scripts out there that are very helpful and they're not really predatory. Those would be fine. I just took a lot of my energy that you should really focus on your strengths. I took a class once where they went through the Clifton Strengths Finder, and my top one was harmony, responsibility, connectedness, developer, things like that. Like that, I feel really strong in those areas. And
Mhm.
so the basic premise of the book too is find what your strengths are and really focus on those. It's like when you're in school. If you are really great in these subjects and you really suck at math, like just pass the math and
Yeah.
focus on like spend your time on
Like honing
what
in
you're
on
good
that
at.
topic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We all have areas to work on and improve on. That's not what it's talking about. It's just like because you're wearing yourself out. We have an emotional bucket that we drain every day, and don't wear yourself out doing something that isn't in your strengths because you're going to burn out.
Yes. It's everything she just said is so true. And just knowing like your zone of genius, whether it's one thing or multiple things, it will make a huge difference. After I quit my job, I tell people I'm still transitioning in and out of real estate all the time because I'm getting to know myself. And even just adding this element of a podcast is something I've always wanted to do. I just never knew how I was going to present it or how it was going to come to me. And it's something that just comes so naturally. And sometimes the paperwork and things like that and the customer service stuff doesn't. But because I didn't know myself that well in the beginning, I was just kind of doing what I was supposed to do versus what I'm naturally good at. And yeah, it came easy. I had moments where I was like on a high and it was fun. It was great. But I've been working in real estate doing similar work since 2004.
Yeah.
Like this is a part-time college job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I never really navigated the world outside of there or explored or tried different things and or even listened to, like you said, what are my absolute strengths? What are like I never asked myself those questions along the way. And going from quitting my job to starting my business at the very same time, never taking a break, around the same time as you,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to kind of just take a deep breath and just breathe and take a step back. I was like, well, I don't want to burn out again. So what can we do? So for anyone listening out there, if you're in a place where, whether you want to be a TC or start your own business or, become a chef, whatever the case may be, narrow it down to what lightens you up, what energizes you in terms of your strengths and what you're passionate about. You don't have to cook everything. You don't have to be in real estate and do everything. Like we have found our niches and are exploring different avenues constantly. Jamie's doing TCing, investing, which I want to talk about next. She's a realtor. She's licensed. You know what I mean? She has admin experience, customer service, and there's just many avenues that we can take. So don't feel discouraged. If anything, just empower yourself. 5 minutes every day, get to know yourself. Ask yourself different questions on how to get to know yourself. It will take you further in life than any other course or book or teaching can do. It just learn yourself, and that will take you a long way. But I definitely want to get into this investing. But before we do, what's like a productivity tool or hack that keeps you going nowadays? Because I know things can get chaotic if we rely on our checklists. Mm-hmm. You have your own personal checklists that remind you of your failures and your wins. Yes. But what is something today that you just either can't work without or would want to share with the audience? And it could be a website or just a mindset of just getting through each day, or all of the above. I know I'm just throwing out so many things, but
well, I'm a big believer in having coaching in whatever that wheelhouse is. Once I kind of got connected into the TC community, I didn't start being connected in. I was kind of an island to myself the first couple of years. And then during COVID, I started like searching for Facebook groups, and then I met some coaches. I've coached with a couple of the top names, and one now is like, she's inspired me so much to start kind of like the Miracle Morning type thing. She hadn't read that book. I'd read it years ago. So basically it's where you kind of have a routine in the morning and get up early. And the book, Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, talks about, how to overcome being a night owl and struggling to get out of bed and everything. And that's always been something that I've always had that in my mind. If I could just get up early, if I could just get up early like I wanted to, my life would change. And so I have this coach now, and I have been getting up at 5 a.m. Wow. And so that's where I am now. That has been absolutely life-changing to be able to get a start on my day. And like yesterday was a Monday. And if you're a transaction coordinator, you know that Mondays are usually one of our busier days where we have all the new contracts. I was able to log off at 5:30, and I was almost like, what am I? No, surely I have something else to do. And I've used a couple of different softwares just for transaction management. When I first started, I was using Trello, which is just basically like, checklists that you move to different stages. And then I used TC Docs for a few years, and that was great. I have everything great to say about that software and the support there. It was not customizable. I couldn't change anything because I didn't own it. Mm-hmm. So I learned about Airtable, and I've been building that out. And I recently upgraded to a template that some other TCs made. And so that's my current project. I love Airtable because I can actually make it do what I want it to do for my business. I listened to your podcast with Ashley Brennan, and she was talking about like all her spreadsheets. Like I literally have a t-shirt that says "Lady in the Streets, Freak in the Spreadsheets." Like I love spreadsheets and like tweaking things. It's like, oh, how can I make this better? How can I make that better? So when it was my own system, then I can do that. And so that's why I love Airtable. It's not a TC specific program. Anybody can use it for any kind of business. But so I love it. And just my biggest hack with that is task batching.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all your deadlines for like your inspections or your financing or, scheduling closings and do it all at once. And like if I'm doing compliance, I try and just batch it like by brokerage so that like, when I'm in their system, that I'm doing all their compliance things. So that has been awesome. And so, you don't do everything every day. You just kind of make sure that you're checking and looking ahead as often as you can. So that's, it's just a learning experience. A couple of things kind of going back to what you were saying before you asked me that, I have found that being driven by like our community and what others put into us and finding like that synergy with our own internal strength is like so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've learned so much from these coaches and the TC community and the Facebook groups. Like I encourage people, if you're new with this, like just go start reading through these things. If you have a question, just type in the search bar the topic and you'll probably find something. Look for a coach that fits within your budgets. I was in a group coaching program that was like $44 a month. That's so affordable. I had a coach that was much more per month for one-on-one coaching. So there's all different ranges. And I also encourage you to like do the work with that coach. And then once you feel like you have learned everything, like the teacher will appear. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Go and work with different people. So the community, and then just helping, find that authenticity within ourselves and couple that with your enthusiasm to serve your clients. And you're just going to be unstoppable.
Yeah. And you spoke on Facebook, but you also mentioned morning routine, coaching, batching, all great tips because I can't express how beneficial working with the coaches. And but Facebook, you have a group as well.
Yes.
These Facebook groups are so key. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. You can either be the one answering the questions or getting questions answered, or just looking for resources or advice or validation. Like, okay, guys, I've done this before, but please remind me, is this still happening or am I doing this right? There's a lot of safe spaces in there. And like you said, you could search for questions and answers on pretty much anything, and if you're on a budget and may not be able to afford a course or even coaching, go in the groups and talk about your group before we get into investing because we won't get there, but talk about your group, Solo TCs on Facebook.
And like you said, there's a lot of shiny objects out there. Don't just go spend your money with something someone tells you, like slow down. And real estate agents the same. There's, oh my goodness, so many people selling to you. So I have gone to the TC conference the last 2 years. In 2023, it was in Nashville. And then the year before it was in San Diego. And just meeting other people that were also kind of introverted and a little bit nerdy like me was really helpful to kind of get into that community. So I would highly recommend it. It was, I was probably one of the first people that registered for it when they posted that it was planned and booked my Airbnb the same day. Like I see the value in it. When I came back from this last one, as I was driving back, I was like, what? I kind of felt like what was missing a little bit was the support for the TCs that didn't have a team. Teams are great for some people, the way that they're wired. It's kind of popular in the TC community, like to grow a team and to, that's great. That's great if that's what you want to do.
Right.
It just, like I talked about earlier, it wasn't working for me. I wanted to be doing the contract to close because that is what I love. I love contract to close. And yes, I'm good at having employees and managing them, but I'm not a teacher. It's really, really funny because you would think that I would be a patient person with what I do. And I am patient with meticulous work, the spreadsheets, or if I'm doing arts and crafts or meticulous work, I'm patient at, but I am not a patient person when it comes to teaching someone. I could never be a nurse. I get really frustrated when I'm driving. I hate driving just because it's like I could be doing so many other productive things or even just be on Facebook or something, like especially when there's drivers out there that like that. I don't have the patience. Or if the internet gets slow, like I want to rip my own arm off and beat myself with it. I'm so frustrated. Like, so anyway, so that was kind of the breakdown with having a team, was setting up the training materials. And that is something that is possible. I think in the future, maybe I would hire someone to do more of the administrative support for my business. But the actual contract to close, I've decided that this is what my business is going to look like. I'm really good at it. I know what my ideal client is at this point. it takes time to figure that out. Like I talked about, clients that respect you, that make you feel valued, that understand that you're human and consider you part of their team.
Right.
So now that I have that, I actually have stopped like looking for new outside clients. So I am a licensed broker. I took the broker course just because I wanted to actually learn what they taught, but I hang my license with an amazing broker. And that isn't really easy to find. Like they give me office space, they let me speak at their meetings. I do sponsor one in a year. And then my broker just feeds me agents all day long, or even if they're not with us. So I do take on new clients from this brokerage, along with, really, if anyone came to me that was a good fit. So that's enough. And right now I'm at 35 open files, and that's the perfect volume. I could maybe add another 10 or 15, but I really give those such good attention. And so as I was driving back from Nashville to St. Louis, it's not that long of a drive. I should really go again. It was a lovely, lovely
Mhm.
visit. I was just thinking about, that was kind of missing. That was one thing that was missing. And, the organizers are amazing. That was just my thought. And so that was kind of my biggest takeaway. I came home and I searched. So if you actually searched solo TCs on Facebook, you can find our group. And then some of the other bigger groups, I asked the admin if
Mhm.
I could post about the group in their group, and I did. And so I'm not sure, I'm probably in the 500 to 600 member
Wow.
range, and I created a spreadsheet on there. So you could list like what states you were familiar with. If you wanted to do like a vacation coverage
Mhm.
thing, you could do that, because that's kind of the biggest challenge with being a solo
Yes.
TC is like, what if, the hit by the bus thing, what if you end up in the hospital? What if, or a family member does?
Anything.
What if
Yeah.
you have a death in the family? What if you want to take a week off?
Right.
So I wanted to provide that networking specifically for us, and really just to be able to, it's just different when you don't have anyone helping you. So we can relate to each other better. And then we have a monthly mastermind call for the group. And so that's been something that I've just found really, I'm not an expert on everything. I've kind of found like, well, I'm not an expert on teaching how to to do this, but this is what I do. What do you
Right.
do? I love that.
Yeah.
It's just, anyway, so I enjoy it.
No, that's
So
amazing. That's
like
amazing.
yourself, that's how I connected with you. So
Exactly. Exactly. We both have care in our business name, so it's
yeah,
we're doing something right.
yeah,
And it is a place just to open up the dialogue. Like you said, whether you're a TC, an assistant, realtor, broker, you don't have to know everything. You just know how to find the answers or ask the right questions to open up the dialogue to get down that path of what you actually need, and to not be afraid to ask for help or to be vulnerable and say, hey, you know what? It's been a while since I've done these types of transactions. Can I have a refresher? Or does anyone out here know how to do these things? And that's the importance of having these types of groups. And I belong to so many, and each of them bring different types of value. And many of us are in the same groups, but like I said, the conversations are different. And those that have started these groups have their different masterminds or work with me's or courses, like 6-week programs, workshops, things like that. So it's amazing. I will definitely link to your group in the description of this episode, and I'll be promoting it as well. So it's not a problem. I'm in the group, so find me there.
yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
now I want to transition to more of the investing money and,
Oh
and
yeah,
and that. And what has that been like for you? Because how are you also juggling and managing all this? Because work-life balance is one of those just
yes.
buzzwords that people like to throw around. I don't think it actually exists. I think it's more so just what is of priority right now,
Yeah.
and how can I fit these 5 or 6 things or one thing in my life and get to the next one after, or however you decide to balance your time or manage your time. But investing, what made you do that and why, and how's it going?
Well, so the brokerage that I hang my license with also has other companies. They have a real estate investing education company in the same building that I'm sitting in right
Oh,
now. Like,
wow.
and they have a hard money lender, they have actual flipping companies and wholesaling company all in the same building that I'm sitting in. They have a buyers club every month.
Wow.
So it's kind of hard to not pick up on that energy. The nonprofit that they have that I was volunteering with, one of the leaders of that company, his mom was on the event committee too. And she's like, I was telling her, eventually I'd like to own rental property. And we were at a meeting a little while later and she turned to me and she said, "So have you bought your house yet?" And I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, first I thought she meant my house. I'm like, "Yeah." And then I figured it out. And so it's just the culture. And so, going back to the be do have, so I haven't traveled much in my life. I basically, after I graduated high school, I just started working. I took some community college and never graduated in anything. I just worked. I basically did. Traveling was going and visiting relatives in different parts of the country, which is fine, but that was it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so, my daughter is class of 2031. So my goal is when she graduates high school, and I'm going to get her set up. I'm going to teach her how to at least do like house hacking or something so that she has real estate income to support whatever she wants to do with her life. And then I'm going to be a digital nomad and I'm going to go and I'm leaving. So that having the real estate investing is going to fund that. So that's my why. But just whatever it is that you want to do, like surround yourself with people that also do it, meetups and watching YouTube. I pay for YouTube so that I don't have to watch the ads. I just soak up YouTube all day long.
Oh yeah, I am a student of YouTube University and I have a channel. I love it. I've learned so much.
Yeah. I mean, the Bigger Pockets podcast, like those guys and their books are amazing. And then the Faster Freedom Show is the podcast that the guys here in my building do. And they are just legit. Like Brian Schroeder is like the founder of all of that. Like I saw him today. Like you need to just, again, surround yourself with people that do that and just learn. I joined their mentorship programs. So as far as the time management part, that has been a learning experience too. So in October of 2022, I purchased a home that had been flood damaged. We had a huge torrential storm come through last summer, and a lot of homes flooded that never got wet in the past, sewer backups and everything. So I was able to get this home in my neighborhood at a really great bargain. And, I have, again, the network of people that would help fund that. And I tried to do a lot of it myself. Like I bought a paint sprayer and it was the worst failure ever. Like, I mean, I didn't permanently damage anything, but it was just so bad. And I see why people that are in trades have apprenticeships to get into them so you can have someone show you what to do. Like I started tiling the bathroom shower surround and then I got to like where the window was and I'm like, I don't know what to do now. So like I tried the things and it just, so I actually hired project managers and I plan to hire them on everything that I do. So my goal is to flip, to be able to pay for things that I want to, pay off my car, take trips while my daughter is still in school. I'm not going to just wait until she graduates to travel. So, and you definitely need a really good accountant. Talking about the money, super important. Get an accountant that has experience in your industry. My accountant, she got me set up as an S corp. She knows what I need. So she advised me on like how much to set aside from when you sell a house that you flip. And then, like I mentioned, the BRRRR method. So basically it's, buy a distressed property, force the equity by improving it, and then refinance it and rent it. And your tenant pays down the mortgage while your equity goes up, and aim to cash flow while you're doing it. And you can either roll that back into your investments or just, I mean, you can calculate your monthly expenses and then do the math and see what your cash flow needs to be. Okay, so I need 50 rentals that cash flow $150 a month to fund my lifestyle. It's also a really good safety net. Like I mentioned, the market went down as far as transaction volumes last year. And I wish that I had that. Like I tried driving for Uber and stuff. It was not good. Like I mentioned, I hate driving. Like why?
You weren't paying attention to your
so I mean, everything was
sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Having someone to help me manage the project, like that knows what they're doing, they know how to pull permits and they have the network with the contractors and everything. So just admitting that you can't do everything is really big. Like let your pride get out of the way. Yes, I would like to think that I could, paint and tile and landscape myself. I can't.
Yeah. It'd be
I
like,
have a mom. I have a daughter.
right. It'd be like if a painter was like, well, let me do your TC work. You go
Yeah,
paint.
no.
It just, we have to be
No.
honest with ourselves.
Yeah, and I don't mind doing the work. I grew up, I'm the oldest of 8 kids, and I
Wow.
grew up like working hard. Like I worked hard all my life. Like I have, grandparents that were farmers and stuff. It was just like wired into me. Like you work all the time. So I don't mind doing it. It's just I can only do so much. Like I said, I can't
Exactly.
do everything. And it's so well worth it too. And if you have someone that knows what they're doing, again, network with people in your community, go to those real estate investors clubs because you will meet people that can do what you need them to do. And then you also, since you're not working, you also learn who not to work with
Mm-hmm.
from your community as well. So it's just been great. I don't know. That feels like a really disorganized bunch of stuff that I just said there, but hopefully so.
No, 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 not at all. It made sense to me because there's so many key points I want to just revisit and point out is that again, it comes down to proximity. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Aside from talking to yourself nice and knowing yourself, knowing your strengths and, you know, going towards that as your how you develop your life, right? But then outside of that, it's like, okay, now who do I want to surround myself with? Because now as you're changing, so are the people in your life, right? Getting rid of the bad and replacing it with better and good, smarter even, and not having to know everything. And all of us each have our own strengths and we each have our own expertise. And for you, all it took was someone asking you, did you get your house?
Right.
I mean, maybe that wasn't all it took, but
Yeah.
if we're not constantly
Right.
putting ourselves in those rooms, you attended
Mm-hmm.
conferences, and even when things were down, you just said Uber, right?
Yeah.
Or, and that's, thank you for sharing that because I want people to understand. Thank you for being transparent about that because this business life isn't for the weak.
No.
And I'm not saying you can't be weak and get better at it, but it's those dark moments where
Yes.
things were so great and then it stops for a little bit, or
Yes.
maybe something just comes along the way and just derails some of it. How are you going to answer those questions? What are you going to do? Who are you in those situations? Because
Yeah.
if you want to stop and do something different, kudos to you as well. That's totally fine. There's no wrong. It's your life, right? But you are like, no, I'm still in this. I just have to survive a little bit and maybe do some things I don't love.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's temporary. And that's because you've worked on your mindset. You've developed these relationships and you weren't afraid to be kind of told like, well, go do it.
Right.
Be about it in a sense, and the fact that you have this office is an amazing office with so many resources. And for anyone out there maybe looking for the right office, those are some things to consider, and if your journey is in investing, realty, TCing, back end stuff, admin, ownership, whatever, it comes down to those that you surround yourself with. And it's not going to be, you're not going to hit a home run or a grand slam every time, but eventually you will find, or you will get lucky and find the right home setting that you can thrive in.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. The whole time you're talking, I'm like, okay, do I want to move to St. Louis? Like,
No, it's the weather here sucks. Like I'm not staying here
right.
in the winter time. I'm
Right.
sorry. It's no.
It
We
was
have
like,
great baseball though. If you ever want to go to come to St. Louis and go to a Cardinal game with you, I will take you. It's so good.
that's funny you say that. And I'm leaving this in the podcast, but I'm a huge Giants fan and, we've had many battles in the playoffs and things like that. But one of my goals is to hit every ballpark and to visit every ballpark. And I've gotten close to going in your area, but I haven't made it yet. So I will definitely take you up on that in the
We're a
future.
good baseball town. And it's like I love the rivalries too. Like the Cubs
Oh,
are ours,
fun.
apparently are.
Oh,
But
okay.
like we need that. We can't play by ourselves. Like we need someone to compete with. So I welcome
Right.
the rivalries. The teams all need their fans so that they can, it's
No, and it makes the city exciting. It energizes everybody, and then you're motivated to go back and have more fun or go start a business. It's a ripple effect of all those things. But I love baseball. It's one of my favorite just pastimes and hobbies to
Yeah.
go do. And
Yeah.
it's an
I
excuse
realized
for
I
you to
forgot to
travel.
mention that in my list of things I like, but yeah.
No, you're good. We're talking about it now. That's why I'm leaving it in here, because
Yeah.
it's important also to just have those things outside of
Mhm.
work, outside of business, outside of the just, because especially as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs or
Yeah.
solopreneurs,
Yes.
as we are, my mind is always racing. Like, what can
Mhm.
I, if I'm
Yes.
not thinking about TCing, I'm thinking about, well, how else can I not just make money, but
Mhm.
also have an impact? And how,
Yes.
what questions am I going to ask Jamie in the podcast? Even though I have my set of questions, but how am I going to weave it in? So I'm always like thinking about the business. So
Yeah.
having things like baseball or
Mhm.
volunteering or getting yourself outside of
Yes.
this world is important to running what successful looks to you, a
Yeah.
successful business.
And it will be
So
fine if you step
yeah,
away for an afternoon or something. It'll be fine.
it'll be fine.
Just
It will.
communicate, hey, I'm gonna be offline.
Yeah, go to a
Yeah.
baseball game.
Yeah.
You don't even have to stay
Exactly.
for the whole thing. If
Yeah,
you
but
don't.
like you were saying, it does feel like you're pushing a boulder up a mountain sometimes. You have to talk to people about that too. Like I was talking to someone in my office that seems really successful, and I told him that, and he's like, it's still like that for me. So
Mm,
it's really encouraging. So it's like, yes, that's what it takes. It's not for everyone. It really isn't. It, like you said, there's peaks and valleys, and sometimes it's good and bad all at the same time. So
right.
a matter of recognizing the good and the bad and just keep, life is messy. It just is.
It
So
is.
just be authentic and reach out. Like, I don't know. One of my pet peeves is when my clients tell me, like, oh, I didn't want to bother you. And I'm like, now I have to fix it. Like,
Right.
you're not bothering me. I am so passionate to help you with your business. Like, you're not bothering me. So we need to have that attitude too when we need help. Don't feel like you're bothering people that are, in the leadership roles or in your, network of people. We want to help each other. I mean, yeah. So that's something I've had to learn too. Like, just share your struggles.
Exactly.
And you don't, I mean, yes, you want to try and do your best, but once you see that you need help, don't hesitate to ask. People don't mind it when you do that at all.
No, they don't. And that's why they are the experts in that field, because they possess strengths that we do. It's all coming back to the strengths topic. I already think I know the title of this episode. So
Yeah. And then, I mean, I talked about my motives too. I just kind of wanted to add, like,
Mhm.
my other big, like, motivation is that in relationship to housing, like, I really see in our country, there's a struggle for affordable housing. And I want to provide, homes for people that they love living in, whether it's as, if I'm their landlord or if I have rehabbed a home, renovated a home that they live in and that they love. Like, and look for needs that need to be met. Like, for example, there's, people with a lot of kids sometimes struggle finding something that they need to rent. So maybe like look in that area or just basic affordable housing. Think outside the box, maybe. Again, those bigger pockets videos, like you've got to watch those. They have all kinds of different ideas on different ways to
Mhm.
invest in real estate. Eventually it'd be cool to maybe get into some of the short-term rental space. It's not on the top of my list, but there's just so many innovative ways to give people a home. Like that is, I mean, we all need a home, right? Like
Right.
where we live our lives. So that's my other big passion. It didn't really tie into anything, but I want to be sure to mention that. Think back, like why are you in real estate, really, at the end of the day? Yes, you want to be a successful person and provide a good living for your family, but what else are we doing?
No, that was that. No, that absolutely tied into everything. That is should I think that should be at the top of everyone's list when they start anything, is why do you want to do that? That's why I also lead with that question. Like, why real estate? What brought you here? And you may have your reasons in the beginning, but it's been 5, 6 years for you now. And as we approach a decade, that's going to change. Our why is going to evolve and it's going to change and it's going to shift and shape and morph into different things. But as long as you're in tune with that, I think it's going to be the perfect foundation for you to just keep going, because you could have given up. and just stuck to Uber and hated it for life,
Yeah.
even though you
Or I
can
could just go get an admin job. That's my
admin job, totally
I want to
fine,
do that.
totally
I do
fine.
that.
But yeah, we don't want to do that. We like the freedom and the
Yeah.
ability to move around as we please. And
Mhm.
it doesn't mean we still don't work for people, but ultimately we do have the power to control most of our day, a majority of it, and have the right mindset to handle those unruly or kind people
Yes.
along the way. So, wow, this has been an awesome conversation. I could definitely keep going because it's cool talking to people with similar paths as you in this industry, and you realize there are more people like you out there than you actually think, and you aren't alone in this process. And you've pretty much hit every question that I have on this list, but I just want to wrap it up with a couple more. You've mentioned so many great points, but I just want to know how you stay empowered.
So I have an accountability partner, which is hard to find an accountability partner that will actually check in with you every week. And another resource I hadn't mentioned, I've used the Full Focus Planner system for several years now. Highly recommend it. It's a quarterly planner and it really keeps you in tune with your goals, tracking your goals. And sometimes they change, but having that accountability partner and then, people that have those coaches that empower you too, and just like I said, acknowledge the things that suck and process those, but just like have people in your life that encourage you to reach your goals and that hold you accountable to them. And I'm a huge reader. I read voraciously. Like my stack of books is so high. I'll never read all of the books I want to, but you just get little different ideas from different books. And it's like, oh, I can use that. You don't have to buy into every single thing. You shouldn't do that anyway. Have a little bit of, you know, judgment as you're reading. Like, yeah, that's a really good idea. Just, I don't know, different ways. But I draw energy from people. Like I said, I'm externally motivated. So I draw energy from people and from keeping my goals in front of me and seeing progress on them.
That's awesome. So, final question to wrap things up and then tell the people, where they can find you. But what is one goal you don't mind sharing publicly with the audience to either just keep you accountable or just to throw it out there?
Yeah.
One of mine, I want to meet Beyonce. So let's just throw it out there. You
I
never
mean, I
know.
talked about my end goal of being able to just travel the world, but like my biggest vision that I could see, and I still haven't figured out how I'm going to get there, is to help develop housing in innovative and creative, environmentally friendly ways. Like I love looking at house plans. Like I would love to get into development somehow, some way. Like that's all my big, hairy, audacious goal. Like that is it. I don't know what that's going to look like. And once I'm not tied down to where my daughter's going to school, then I'll have more freedom to move about the country, as they say. Maybe I'll do it before then, but that's my big, like, I don't know. That's my big goal. That'd be so cool. Like, just think about designing homes all day.
I
Like, that's,
love that. I love that. Because I mean, I just think about like past us, like maybe you at the DMV working, like probably not even realizing you would get to this point one day, even have the freedom to think about that, to dream that big, that's a privilege. And I can't wait to see it. I know it will unfold in some way, shape, or form as time goes on. Keep us posted if it happens sooner than later. Jamie, this has been an awesome conversation. You are more than welcome to come on the show anytime if you want to just discuss a certain topic, get more in depth about investing, because I know we only touched on the surface and you are embarking on this fairly new, it's a new journey
yeah.
for you as well. But I'm motivated, I'm inspired. I don't think I'll be moving to St. Louis. I was eager and I was like, oh my God, I think I need to go right now. And I was like, I need to slow down, calm down. Maybe we'll do a baseball game first.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this has
No.
been awesome. Tell the people how they can connect with you and your business. Go for it. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you. So, my transaction coordination business is ClientCare Services. And so, I have a website and a Facebook page. I'm much more of a Facebook person than I am Instagram. That is also on my list to learn how to do better. I think it's my age group. I came from the MySpace generation, and I just am sad that that's gone. So yeah, I look up Client Care Services, Jamie Frazier, real estate, you're going to find me. The Solo TCs group, it really is pretty much for active transaction coordinators who don't have a team. It's fine if they have some, like I said, back end admin support or something, but someone that's in the files and also the business owner. So it's just Solo TCs is the group name after facebook.com. And that's really it. So yeah, I'm always happy to connect and help any way I can.
That was perfect. And thank you again for sharing your journey with us. I know there's someone out there that has taken bits and pieces from this and is going to incorporate it in their lives. And, the goal is to empower people. And I definitely think you've done that. So I thank you again for your time. Mm-hmm. Everyone go follow, or, if you need to work with Jamie, she's available, hit her up. And if you're in the St. Louis area, she's the one to go to. So thank you again, everybody. This has been another episode of the Transaction Care Podcast. Visit transactioncarepodcast.com to connect with me, to join my newsletter, and to buy merch, see what services I'm offering at the time. But until the next episode, I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon.